like you see the good in people, and then you really were like, I want to see them win so much, but you give it up at the detriment of yourself? Have you ever felt like, well, I have to say yes because I don't want people to say no, or I don't want them to feel bad because I say no? Well, today in this video, for a moment, I'm going to talk to you about protecting your yes. Protecting your yes. Okay. I'm going to give a couple of keys about what you can do to protect your yes. And it's so important, especially now in the time we live in, where it's a lot of distractions. I mean, sure, I thank you for tuning into this video, but there, of course, there are other videos. You got scrolling that you would do, mindless scrolling. You could go from one video to the next in a matter of seconds or even minutes, right? So it can be challenging to stay focused on what you must do in the present that can position you better in the future. And so saying yes to everything is a trap, and saying yes to everything keeps you from accomplishing anything meaningful, right? So, I mean, yes, I would say more so since 2020. I've noticed this trend where it seems like focus has been under assault. Focus has been under attack. It's been hard to stay focused on one thing. And I believe it's by design, it's by intention. It's indirectly, it's an indirect attention or indirect tactic used to keep you from paying attention. Because when you're distracted, it's hard to really be effective. When you're distracted, you're more so committed to looking at what's on your left and looking at what's on your right rather than looking at what's within and pursuing what's ahead. So yeah, it's I mean, think about it. Our devices. I have one mentor. I hear him talk about it a lot. He says it's the electronic income reducer. So I, at one time we used to think that was just limited to just TV. Well, now it's going from TV to like the phones in our hands, and so it's easy to go from one thing to the next without finishing what's the most important. And if you're a person who definitely, if you're a creative or creative visionary, or if you have SOS syndrome, what is it, shiny object syndrome, right? You could be started on the path to doing something, but then because the focus is not there, it's so easy to get caught up into what the next thing is. So you start off on one path and then you get distracted by something else that shines brighter once your excitement for the first thing you initially started leaves. Now you start to find something else to do and you switch to that. And then once that excitement goes away, then all of a sudden, now you start looking in another direction. Now you're split between three different directions instead of focusing on one thing. Here's another thing about protecting your yes. You're trying to do everything yourself, or you're trying to do everything yourself because you're protecting yourself from being rejected, or you're protecting yourself from people hurting you, or you're protecting yourself from somebody else letting you down because you trusted someone or trusted a team or trusted an authority figure, and all of a sudden they disappeared on you. They you gave them something of value, or you were very vulnerable with them about something you were dealing with, and the next thing you know, they turn around and use your vulnerability against you, right? So you now are have this kind of like you've closed yourself off because of being violated or being disrespected by people that you trusted. But here's the thing about it. Much as I would like to be off to myself when I deal with challenges, and much as I like to feel like I don't want to be a part of community, I don't want to share some things because I don't want to look or feel vulnerable again, or I don't want to feel like, well, if I share this, how are they going to view me? If I share this, I'm going to be viewed as weak, not strong. And you think in order to protect yourself, you're thinking like, well, let me just avoid. So now we have a culture today where it's easy to avoid rather than confront and take responsibility. And, and here's what I find, and I'm going somewhere with this, with protect your yes. If you're getting value from this, you can hit like and share, right? But when I say protect your yes, in other words, that yes is your assignment, right? That yes is, what is it that you're supposed to do, that you've been assigned to do, that can unlock the transformation in someone else, right? What is it, or who is it that you've been assigned to, that when you are obedient and you do that very thing, say yes to that which you have been called to, it's transformational, not just for them, but it's transformational for you too. See? So saying yes, I'm going to say this. Number one, you say yes, or when you say yes, or how do you protect your yes? Number one, you protect your yes by saying no, N-O, more. You protect your yes by saying N-O, more. I'm reading a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And it's by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dr. Dan Sullivan, who Dr. Benjamin Hardy pretty much uh, did most of the writing for the book. And what they talk about is that when we think about 10X, most times we think it means doing 10X more, like, excuse me, like hustling 10X more, like doing more of the how-to work at a faster rate. You already have, your day is pretty much maxed out. You only have 24 hours in a day. And so now what you're thinking is, well, I need to 10X, so I need to speed up my hustle, right? Well, what I've learned in from that book is, I think the subtitle here is like how to achieve more, how world-class entrepreneurs achieve more by doing less. And what that's saying is, you say yes to do less, but when you say yes to do less, it's to do more of what you're called to and less of what you're not. And I can testify about this and say there were times before I would say yes to things because my heart was good. I wanted to do it, right? There were ventures that I started, I said yes to. But when I started that, when the excitement happened, and right, and then when it came time to be consistent, I really wasn't, because I got easily distracted. So that what I described to you earlier was actually me, because I got distracted from the original why of why I did it. Did I do this in obedience to God, or did I do this to copy somebody else? Right? So I would try to go harder at something, and I thought 10X mean doing more, but it actually means doing less of a lot of the other things and more of the fewer things that you do well. So when we say, so to protect our yes, number one, when we say no more, no is a word that is designed to help us, but also no can help the people connected to us. Because if we don't make a decisive answer, yes or no, then we allow or open the door for people to continue to keep pressing us for issues, or continue to use us to help them. But it's a distraction taking us away from what we should do. Has anybody ever been like me, where you know you shouldn't say yes, but you say yes, and then you pay the price for that yes, because you realize at the time that you said, or what you said yes to, yes, though it was a help to the other person, it really took away from what you were supposed to do to help build something significant. You know what I mean? But we didn't want I didn't want to tell people no, because I was more concerned about how they felt, even though I would front and say I wasn't, but I was more concerned about, if I tell them no, then they're gonna look at me funny. Then if I tell them no, man, they things will change. But here's the thing. I'm learning that when I say no more, I cut off any possibilities of being distracted more. Or when I say no more, it helps them and it helps me understand a certain standard I must live by, right? So it's very important that if you say no more, at first, what's going to happen? People are going to look at you funny. First of all, they're going to think you're strange or like, why have you changed? Like if you go from used to doing things for free and all of a sudden now you start charging, now all of a sudden they trip with you. Like, well, you didn't do that before. You didn't charge us before. Like, I know, but things have changed and I'm changing. So me not charging is really not me helping you. Me not charging is me hurting you from an opportunity for you to grow. Right? And sometimes I realize I just had an interview not too long ago on a podcast before going on here, and what we talked about that very thing. Like we're charging or we're afraid to charge people because we're thinking we're helping them by lowering our value. But really it could be that the charge is not so much about the price itself, but you elevating your price or raising your price not only raises your expectations and standards up, but it also lets the people know that they have to raise their expectations and their standards up because you'd rather invest your time, not waste your time. And sometimes by saying yes, I'm telling on myself, but I'm helping you all, and I'm helping somebody really get over this because there were times I said yes, even as a musician, I said yes to things, yes to opportunities that were well below uh, what it was worth. And here's the thing, I don't blame the other people. I take responsibility myself because guess what? I decided to accept that low offer. So I said yes to a low offer. Now, let me make a caveat or say this right here. Sometimes God will lead you, and I said this the other night too. Sometimes God will lead you to places that may not be able to compensate you what the value of what you're providing is. Okay, and you got to be able to have a relationship with God and discern that for yourself, and then allow God to reveal that to you. Like, okay, is the person that He's leading me to, or I'm connecting with, is this? How do you want me to go forward with this relationship? Because I understand, or I'm continuing to understand, that when I give more, it opens more doors. Yes, but here's the thing: there are times that's not for everybody. That's not for every situation, right? But other times the situation is when you do something and now all of a sudden okay, you're being challenged to charge, right? And it's uncomfortable for you to raise the price or share what the price is because you're more concerned about whether or not they'll reject you for raising your price. And so when you protect your yes by saying no, and when you say no more, you're raising your standard. But even in raising your standard, it's going to challenge people and how they see you and whether or not, okay, he or she is no longer free anymore. He or she is no longer at the rate I was used to them. They've raised their rate. So if I want to continue to work with them, I got to raise and elevate my thinking and my mindset. And not only that, but I got to be willing to put my money where my mouth is. Ew, that stings. I know. I'm still learning and growing myself, but I've learned to protect my yes by saying no more. And when I say no more, that actually builds a foundation, and it is set in stone. Okay, he's not budging on this. This is who he is. This is what he offers. He's not going back on it. So this is what we have to accept. Either we accept it or we move on. And I have to do that myself, right? Because if somebody I know, friend or whatever, and they used to sharing certain things with me, and they raise their price, or I have to make a decision then to be like, okay, they raised it, so if I want to work with them, I got to raise my capacity as well, right? And it may take a bit more time. I may have to be a bit more creative, but they're protecting their yes by saying no to a lower offer. And then the fact that they asked me to come with them, they're giving me an opportunity to raise up to their capacity so I can increase my capacity in what it is that I offer. Because guess what? I'm not going to grow beyond what I don't invest in. Okay, so number one, the best way to protect your yes. Number one, say no, N-O, more. Okay, and then number two is To protect you, yes. Learn to build a team, right? To protect, learn to build a team to help you protect and invest your time rather than you wasting it, right? We're living in a time right now with the AI age, and right, and I know there's so much you could do with ChatGPT, and you could be a single person business. I see videos like that, and I get the concept. I find it very interesting, right? We had a time right now where but the truth of the matter is, uh, if we're looking at this, it can be seem easier, but also you got to realize that we are people, and so we have to be interdependent and work with one another, right? So blessings don't just fall out of the sky. God works through people to access and unlock some things for us, for we can actually serve one another and at the same time expand His kingdom. So the fact that we say, I have this big vision, but I want to only keep it with myself and only just depend on artificial intelligence, only just depend on myself, or just keep it as a solo, but we don't build a team. Uh, at some point, you're going to grow to where you're going to have someone else fill in certain holes, right? I know, I get it. I know it's easy to try to be solo, but I promise you, it's going to be effective if you have someone else working with you. And when you have someone else working with you, then one of the things it's going to do is going to, yes, protect your time, but it's also going to be able to give you more time to focus and do what you do best. Okay? Let me give you a couple of examples. One example, I would say, I went to a car wash about 2 weeks ago, and not too far from where we are, and we had been seeing them, right? And so one day my wife asked me, and she says, "Okay, are you going to take Faith? That's the name of her vehicle. Are you going to take Faith to get clean?" I'm like, or are you going to clean Faith? What are you going to do? Pretty much something what she asked me that. And at first, I was going to try to jump and do it. And I thought about the last time I tried to give her car a wash down, a wipe down. I thought I was with just sprinkling the water. And come to find out, you know how you sprinkle the water on and you wipe it down, just a water wash or rinse? Well, unfortunately, one side looked good, but the other side, you saw the streaks on the white streaks or where I tried to wipe. I thought I got it good with that towel, but apparently I didn't. So she asked me that question that day, I began to ask, like, okay, wait a minute. Um, do I want to take the time to do that again, which could have been an hour or so, maybe less? Do I want to take the time to do that again, or do I want to go to this spot right here and let them do it? So I feel led to go let them do it. So they checked my car in, and from there, they took it through the machine or whatever. And then the beautiful thing I saw while I was waiting, I was in the lobby area, and I saw a team of about 4 or 5 guys, all of them wiping down the vehicle. And I looked at that and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And when I saw how the vehicle looked when I got it, how amazing it was on the inside, my gosh! I said, more was accomplished by doing that. That team, that teamwork of those guys cleaning that vehicle, that showed me that it's much more effective to have a team do things, even though you may have the ability to do it yourself. But guess what? Take one of you compared to like 4 or 5 of them. Okay, what is it that you're doing right now in your life, in your ministry, in your business? You are, maybe you're a pastor, and you're trying to edit the videos too. But you got to prepare the messages. You got to oversee the flock and the people. You're thinking about that, and you're like, well, you don't think about it because you're so used to doing that for so long. But what if you really had someone else step up with you to help you execute that, instead of you being bogged down yourself trying to do it all yourself? So you know how much time you would save by doing that? You know how much time you would save by having people, having built a team? Even it doesn't have to be a massive team, but you can have a small team that you can build, and that small team can help you execute much more effectively than you trying to do it on your own. Yeah. So at some point, here's the thing. Again, no matter how great you are individually, at some point you're going to need a team. Whether it's for your ministry, whether it's for your business, whether it's for even if you're a parent, right? Somebody else, maybe having them watch your children. You may be, I don't know about that. Well, here's the thing: it's only so much time in the day, and you still got to live life. You still got to be able to have a relationship. So we may at times be anti in terms of people. I don't trust people like that. I'd rather do it myself. But here's the thing: you could think you're saving money, but you're actually wasting more time. Which would you want to do? Would you want to save more time that can produce more revenue, or save more time so you can invest it and do what you may have loved to do, or you want to actually do things you hate all the time, or you're trying to do everything yourself? You're trying to be all these places and be all these things to people only to stay stuck. So that example I gave you about going to the car wash, letting them wash, and then four or five of them, a whole team, cleaning and wiping it down, was much better than me trying to do it myself. So protect your yes. Number one, as we said, by saying no. That's the first key. Secondly, right now, protect your yes by building a team so you can invest and so you can actually protect and invest your time, not waste it. So many gifted people are, and I'm speaking to my creatives, right? So if you're a creative like me, whether you're musically creative, you're an artist, you're a poet, you're an author of that sort, and you're so used to doing everything, right? What's going to end up happening is you can start out that way, but if you stay that way, then it's going to be hard for you to actually multiply, because here's the thing: it's going to be hard to be in the forest and oversee the forest at the same time. One foundational scripture that really helped me understand this key right here, number two, of building a team to help protect your yes, is Habakkuk 2 verse 2, where it says, write the vision, make it plain, put it on tablets so that a runner can share it with others. And what I learned is, as a visionary, I'm really pretty much like the architect who has the blueprint. So imagine it like building a house. The architect has the blueprint to build the house, but the architect is not the one that builds the house. The architect has the blueprint to share with the general contractor, and the general contractor is the one that shares and works through the other subcontractors to help build the house. So think about how that works for you and I in terms of our vision and what we've been given. So if you've been given a vision, the blueprint, God is going to connect you with somebody who can serve as that runner, that general contractor that has access to other resources and people to help you execute that which you've been assigned to do. But the issue has been, we tried to be the visionary and we try to be the runner. We try to be the architect and we try to be the general contractor. And we try to be the subcontractors at the same time. So we're doing multiple jobs at one time, trying to do one main thing or be effective at what we're called to. But it's very hard to do simply because we're trying to do everything at once. And there's no way we can do everything and then accomplish anything. So those are the two things I wanted to share with you today that I believe are very important. Right? Like and share this with your friends. Like and share this with people you know, or even yourself. Look, there's something that happens when you share with other people. Share this message, right? Protect your yes. You have something of value, right? But whatever you say yes to, just know that you said no to something else. And sometimes we say yes to the right thing rather than, well, we have the right thing, but we say yes to the wrong thing. We have the right vision, but we say yes to the wrong things and how to do it. But I'm telling you, what God's given you is so important. It's so vital. It's so amazing. But sometimes we can't see that because we're too busy doing other things we're not great at. I'm telling you, it stings, and it's the truth. I'm telling you from my personal experience. I'm telling you that there were things I started that I didn't finish because I didn't protect my yes. And if you're a creative, most times, and even if you have a vision and you started something and you didn't finish it, it's because you didn't count the cost. And one of the ways to help us creatives or help count the cost, you have to have other people that can see things or blind spots that you don't, right? I remember I started a venture. And it was great. I rented a spot to do it, and come to find out, I didn't see it right. I was so into it that I didn't see the full execution of it. I was in it, but I couldn't be in it and over at the same time, and it didn't follow through. And so that venture that I did became more of a charity than obviously something that could be of value. And I think that venture was a podcast that I did. We'll probably do it again. I may not get in the industry with that again, but the point I'm making is, um, I saw the effects of other people doing it, and it was a good thing. I'm not saying it wasn't God's time for me to do. It wasn't God for me to do it, but maybe the timing wasn't right, and I didn't have the execution of it properly because I saw that particular venture, quote unquote, the podcast, as I saw that podcast instead of seeing it as a lead magnet, as a way to increase engagement that leads to something of other value. I didn't have the structure properly, and because I didn't have the structure properly, it just didn't work out. Cash flow didn't come in like I thought it would. When you're excited and you start something, right? This is why creatives most time is a tip. Creatives most time we have to have somebody who's detailed to actually help us execute. Because like if we don't, we'll always be creating and recreating things, but never finishing things. So, but anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you right now. I hope this helped you. Again, share this with someone else. There'll be another video coming out soon. But it's very important that we protect our yes, because if you don't protect your yes, you're going to say yes to somebody who's protecting their yes with a no. And so I've learned in this year already to say no more. Just because somebody offers you something doesn't mean you actually have to say yes to it. It's cool to get offers. It's cool to get people wanting to be like, hey, why don't you come do this for me and do that? But you have to be the one to have standards. You have to be the one to have a strong foundation and know what is very important to you. You got to know what your assignment is so you can say yes to that, so you can be strong enough to say no to what is a good thing, but not God's thing for you. Okay? So I'll see you next time. Stay encouraged. Bye for now.